So, hello there, and welcome back to yet another Night in the Movies podcast. And in these podcasts, I talk all things movies and TV, and whatever I want, whenever I want. And in today's podcast, I'm reviewing Nyad, which is currently streaming on Netflix. But just before I do that, I should say what I say at the start of every podcast I do, which is, if you are watching this podcast on YouTube, hello to my viewers. But if you prefer to listen to your podcasts on Spotify, well, you're in luck, as you can also listen to this podcast on Spotify at Night in the Movies on that platform. And if you are already listening to me on Spotify, hello there to podcast listeners, then you can also check the podcast out visually on my YouTube channel at Night in the Movies on that platform as well. Likewise, wherever you're watching or listening to this podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the podcast, of course, and leave me with some feedback on things to improve on in future podcasts, because there's always things to improve on, and feedback is, as ever, much appreciated. So, let's get into it. Nyad. So I knew barely anything about this film before I saw it. I knew almost nothing about it other than it was getting great reviews. That is the main reason I wanted to watch this film on Netflix as soon as it came out, because I heard a lot of people I follow online and a lot of people I watch on YouTube raving about this film, saying about how brilliant it was because it already premiered. It screened a couple of months ago at some film festivals. And I heard a lot of people saying some really fantastic things about it, so I made a note of watching it as soon as it came out on Netflix. I don't think it had much of a theatrical release around where I live, but I just thought to myself, this is one that you're just going to have to watch on Netflix. You're not going to be able to go to the cinema to watch it, unfortunately, but you'll watch it on Netflix, and hopefully you'll still get a great experience from it. And the IMDb plot synopsis of the film goes as follows. Nyad tells the true story of athlete Diana Nyad, who at the age of 60, yes, at the age of 60, and with the help of her best friend and coach, commits to achieving her lifelong dream, a 110-mile open ocean swim from Cuba to Florida. And that is the plot to Nyad. And honestly, I absolutely loved this film. It was fantastic. And one word kept staying in my mind. One word stayed in my mind throughout the whole viewing experience that I had watching this film. There's one word that kept coming to mind, and that word was remarkable. The true story that this film is based on, and the actual real life swimming journey that Diana Nyad did is something which is completely and utterly remarkable. And then you get the real life people that the characters in this film are based on. They are all remarkable. And this film itself is also remarkable. Everything about this film I just found to be completely and utterly remarkable, and I was so engaged from it from the get-go. As soon as the film started, you're put in the mind of Diana Nyad. You're learning about her past. You're learning about how she's a swimming athlete. As soon as you see her literally jump in the water early on in the film, you're thrown into her headspace, and it's just fascinating to watch, especially from my perspective. I'm a swimmer, and I'm nowhere near as good of a swimmer as Diana Nyad is, and I could never, ever do what she did in a million gazillion years. But that being said, I have done some swimming in the past, and so when I was watching this, I was going, how the hell does someone do anything like that? How the hell does someone keep going swimming in the open ocean for that amount of time? I mean, I struggle to swim in the sea at Scotland whenever I go on holiday, full stop. I struggle to swim there. I don't know how anyone could do anything like she does, and that's why I was more blown away by it than perhaps someone who doesn't swim. I was watching this and I was like, what? I don't know how anybody does that. I don't know how they keep going. I don't know what they're thinking whilst they're doing that. But what the film does so well is it tells you all that. It tells you how she trains, how Diana Nyad trains for things like this, how she trains for long swimming journeys. It tells you about her thought process while she's doing these long swimming journeys, the songs that she thinks of and the rhythm that she swims to the songs, which is something I've never really thought of. I've done swimming in the past. Again, nowhere near nowhere near as good as Nyad in this film. And again, I'm speechless when it comes to how good of a swimmer she actually is. I swim up and down small lanes in a pool about 10 minutes away from my house. I don't do swimming that much. And the thing is, though, whenever I swim, I'm just thinking about things I've got to do later in the day. I don't do it to like a certain rhythm, and I just found it fascinating that she does. She thinks of songs in her head. I think one of them was Heart of Stone by Neil Young, if I remember correctly. Because it's actually used in the film. That song is actually used in this film. She's swimming to the beat of that song in her head. And there's one point where Jodie Foster's character, who is her coach and best friend, what's her name now here? Just get the name up, just give me a sec. Bonnie Stoll, that's the character that Jodie Foster plays, who is best friends with Diana Nyad, played by Annette Bening in the film. We both got great performances, by the way, and I'll get onto that a bit later in this podcast. But there's one moment in the film where Bonnie Stoll, played by Jodie Foster, asks Diana Nyad, played by Annette Bening, have you got your playlist ready for the swim? And I'm thinking, wait, oh god, she must have this like playlist in her head. And I just found that really fascinating. And I found the way the swimming was done was very believable as well. Like, I actually believed that I was watching Diana Nyad do this swim. I actually believed that I was watching her swimming from Cuba to Florida. And that sounds like it's something which wouldn't be that important, but at the same time, I've seen films in the past where they've got the sport not on point, to say the least, and it makes things in the film less believable. But I always felt that the swimming sequences in this film were believable, and I love how there were certain moments in the film when you felt like you were there with Diana Nyad swimming in the open ocean. I love how the film puts you in her perspective, and there were certain moments, like I've already mentioned, where you felt like you were experiencing the open ocean alongside her. I mean, there's one moment when she starts to hallucinate in a bit, and it's quite funny actually, and I love how that was done. I found that very fascinating. I found how she keeps going very, very fascinating. I mean, I just found the whole film extremely fascinating. Far more than I really expected. I found it really engaging as well. Whether it's through the story itself, whether it was through the storytelling, where I think this is a very well told story, or whether it was through the filmmaking. This is the two people who directed. I've got their names up here, but I'm gonna mispronounce them really badly. Jimmy Chin, I think, pronounced that all right, but Elizabeth Shai, I can't pronounce her second name. But the two people who directed this film, they did a very good job. They did a very, very good job, and they also directed the documentary Free Soul, which I think came out a couple of years ago, and if I remember correctly, didn't that win the Academy Award for Best Documentary in the year that came out? I haven't seen it myself, but what I will say is that this film feels like it's from people who are documentary filmmakers, and I mean that in the best way possible. There is a lot of intercutting of real-life footage of Diana Nyad and of the actual swim she does and everything like that, and of real-life footage of around the time that this film is set. There's a lot of real-life stock footage intercut into this film, and it's seamless though, and I think actually furthered my engagement. I can see why some people might be taken out of the film because of all the intercutting of real-life footage. Personally, it enhanced my experience though. I was watching it, I was like, oh my god, this is actually making me feel like I'm watching the story of the real life people, because the film does feel so believable, as what you mentioned, through the swimming sequences, but also through the performances. You have, as already mentioned, Annette Bening and Jodie Foster in the two lead roles, and their chemistry and their bond is so on point. And also, you believe in their characters because the performances are so authentic and feel so real and are just so good. I really wouldn't be surprised if they get nominated for Oscars this year. I hope they do for their performances. I really do. Because Especially Jodie Foster. I mean, Annette Bening is great in this film as Diana Nyad, and when you see real life interviews from her, from the actual real life Diana Nyad in the credits of this film, you see how similar and how well Annette Bening played that real life person. And for me though, the standing performance, the best performance was Jodie Foster, who just keeps the film going. You know, she in the film is Diana. She plays, that's what I mentioned, Bonnie Stoll, and that person was Diana Nyad's coach during this open water swim, and she is keeping Diana Nyad going during that swim, and and at the same time it feels like she's keeping the film going. Their bond is done so well, and Jodie Foster, yeah, she's fantastic in this film. She's so good, and the real Bonnie Stoll, I'm just going to put him here. The real Bonnie Stoll said this about the film overall. The first time I watched it, I honestly thought I was watching myself. So Bonnie Stoll, who Jodie Foster plays in the film, the real Bonnie Stoll said this. The first time I watched it, I honestly thought I was watching myself. Jodie is just so down to earth and just a really cool lady, and that's great. We spent a lot of time together. I didn't have to tell her one thing. I learned things that I do from seeing her on screen. She's just a very observant person, and that really shines through in the film. It really does, and yeah. Performances are great. Also, Rhys Ifans in this film. I didn't know that. And Rhys Ifans, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I'm not sure if I am. He's an actor that whenever he pops up in something, I'm not sure if I'm going to like him. Then I always end up liking him in whatever he's in. Even when he played the Lizard in that weird Spider-Man film that I didn't like too much, he was even good in that. And I love him in Notting Hill and The Boat That Rocked. He just oozes charisma in that film. He's so good. I know people weren't the biggest fan of The Boat That Rocked, but I loved it. But anyway, that's another topic for another day. Still, back onto this film. He is great, and he's so understated, and, you know, yes, he is acting alongside Annette Bening and Jodie Foster in the scenes that he's in, and those two are just acting legends, and he's not as good as them two in this film, obviously, but he holds his own, and I think he gives a really understated performance that's very subtle and very moving at the same time. I think Rhys Ifans does a great job, does a really great job in this film, and the film itself, as what he sort of alluded to a little bit, is really about friendship. And it's about this sisterly bond between Diana Nyad, played by Annette Bening in the film, and Bonnie Stoll, played by Jodie Foster in the film. That's what the film is really about. It's about this sisterly friendship bond between them two. And it's about never giving up. It's about never giving up, and it's about determination. And it's about that even at the age you are at, you can do whatever in your life. You know, as I already said in the IMDb plot synopsis for this film, it's based on a true story, and it follows Diana Nyad, who at the age of 60 commits to achieving her lifelong dream. At the age of 60. And I won't give away much, but I won't give away what happens in the film, because I think it's a film you really need to see to experience, you know what I mean? But at the same time, she doesn't quite achieve her dream straight away. That's all I'm going to say. It takes her a bit of time to achieve her dream. And yet at the same time, she is 60 years old and she's still achieving her dream though. You know, that's what she sets out to do. And I won't say where the story goes. Although you might have guessed it already, but I won't say where the story goes. But at the same time, it's really a film about you're never too old to achieve your dream. You know, never ever give up, regardless of what has happened in your life. Never give up. And it's also about friendship and about passion, and that all those themes shine through in the film in the best ways possible. They really do. And you also find out about the backstory of Diana Nyad in the film. And when that started to happen, when you found out about Diana Nyad's backstory, I was a bit unsure whether this was important. It's very important, and it adds another emotional layer to this film, and it makes it that much more crowd pleasing and victorious when you get to the end. You know, I got to the end of this film and I wanted to stand up and cheer. The film is fascinating when it needs to be. It's absorbing when it needs to be. It's engaging when it needs to be. It's funny when it needs to be. There are some really funny moments, and it's intense when it needs to be. There's some really intense and suspense-driven moments, and it's also crowd pleasing when it needs to be as well. Particularly at the end, where you literally want to stand up and cheer when you feel like you've been on this journey with these characters. You've been, well, you haven't been swimming in the ocean, but you've been put into the perspective of Diana and Nyad swimming in the ocean to a certain degree. And when you've had all that going on, it just fills you with joy and passion and excitement, and yeah, it just makes you want to go out there and achieve your dream at the end of this film, if you get what I mean. I'm not even sure if I'm making sense anymore, but you know, you get the point I'm making. This film is remarkable, and I absolutely loved it, and I was surprised by how much I did, because I thought I'd like it. I just didn't realise I would like it as much as I ended up doing. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that Nyad, you know what? I'm going to give this a 9.5 out of 10. I am feeling generous on this morning as I'm recording this podcast. Yeah, I'm going to give it a super high rating. I mean, the film has some nitpicky problems that I could go into, but honestly I don't want to, because the film does what it says on the tin, you know. It did for me what I wanted it to do. And what else could you ask a film to do? You know, no film is perfect, regardless of what some people may say. Films aren't perfect, but at the same time, though, when a film does what you want it to, it just makes you feel so. Oh, it just makes you feel so joyous. It fills you with joy, and it makes you feel triumphant. This is what this film does. You know, there's so many sports dramas where people have watched them and gone raving about them, saying this is the film that's going to lift you up, and it's going to be uplifting, and it's going to be the film that makes you want to get out there and achieve your dream. And I've watched them, and they haven't really done that. Like, the first Rocky was that for me. I really enjoyed the first Rocky film, but it didn't make me want to run out there and go and achieve my dream. This film kind of did. This film made me want to get out there and do things. You know, it filled me with hope. That's what it really did. And I loved how at the centre of this film is this relationship between Annette Bening as Diana Nyad and Jodie Foster as Bonnie Stoll that just shines through the entire way through. And even the credits of this film are great. The credits of this film were still as engaging as the rest of the film, which you don't usually say for a film, period. Can't think of many films where the end credits are actually interesting to watch. Yet the end credits of this film are great. And I love the use of music as well, which is one thing I really got into. The use of needle drops, and also the Alexander Desplat, I can't pronounce his name, Alexander Desplat, got there in the end, Alexander Desplat musical score, which, you know, adds in the feels that a musical score like this should do. You know, furthers those feels and makes you feel tension in the scenes that it should, and it also makes you feel it just makes you feel, well, it fills you with joy. It fills with joy in the scenes it should as well. I've gone on about the film way too much, but you get the point I'm making. I loved it. I thought it was a fantastic film. I love how real it felt. I love how it felt like an experience, even though I just saw it on my TV downstairs. I saw it on Netflix on my TV downstairs, and the film still felt like an experience. Do I wish I watched it in a cinema? Sure, but also it was so great to watch in the leisure of my own home, and I loved it. I found it fascinating, engaging, compelling, and funny and intense, and I found it to be a victorious crowd pleaser. And that is why I absolutely adored Nyad overall. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that Nyad, I'm going to say that it's a 9.5 out of 10 from me. Anyway, Anyway, guys, that is it for the podcast for today. So, if you have seen Nyad, please let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what people are thinking of this film. And let me know, maybe you loved it, maybe you hated it, whatever your thoughts are on Nyad, please let me know in the comment section below. And as always, thank you as always for watching. I just said always twice there. Thank you as always for watching or listening to this podcast. And if you haven't yet, please do click down below and like, subscribe on this podcast. And look forward to many more podcasts coming very, very soon on this channel. As I said, thank you as always for watching or listening. And I suppose that's it. So I will see you guys again soon. But bye for now. Bye.